traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. So I just put out the support and resistance bias chart I'm putting out right now. We're going to start putting that bad boy together. So let's start off with the, here, let me get rid of this really quick. Let's get started with the euro dollar as we normally do. Let me zoom in a little bit here. Okay, so in regards to the euro dollar, I want to point out how big of a breakout that we created last week. Okay, let's go over to the weekly candle. This is a big deal. You know what this means? Okay, I'm gonna tell you exactly what this means. This move right here above this yellow trend line, this is such a big deal to me. This is the reason why predominantly I'm long the dollar. Okay, when you get a big breakout of this is a multi-year trend line basically. You're talking since spring of 2014 to today. We have this huge breakout. That suggests to me that I need to be buying the euro dollar on pullbacks, and right now, obviously we are pulling back a little bit. Can we pull back further? Sure. Like I said on Friday, I think it's possible that we get down towards 111. Maybe as Paul pointed out, maybe this 110.75. I would think right now that this is major support for today. We may test it today. Okay. I think it's entirely possible that we come down here. I had this drawn out from Friday, like this flag pattern, but I was like, well, it's Friday and it was non-farm payroll. I tried to play it to the long side. I bought it. I ended up losing I think 22 pips on Friday. I bought it. I'm trying to remember it all. I bought it pre NFP, and then my cost average ended up being like 111.70 by the time it was all said and done, like 111.70, and I think I got out when it rallied back to like 111.48 or 52, and I took like a 20 pip loss or whatever on Friday. But I am establishing, these dollar longs, but I still think it's possible that we pull all the way back towards this 111, maybe 60 area. So or 110.60 area, this breakout point, 70 actually, it's where it's at. Okay, the high price right there is 110.60. Now what I will do is I'm going to measure from the start of this move, which will be right here, okay, to the highs. 38% retracement is like that 110.80, then a 50% retracement comes down to 110.27. So I think marking it at 110.60 makes sense. All right, that is a possible. It is going to be pretty key support. 110.60. If you get an opportunity to buy it down there, I think that's going to be a great place to be on the long side, frankly. Okay. But that's a place where I think that if we can get down there, yeah. And if you're looking for longs, that's going to be a good place. And like I said, I said this a little earlier. I'm building a long position, and I'm looking to be long for probably the next week or two. All right. I think the euro's heading up towards the teens, the mid 114, 115 level. I have to revisit up there, should we get up there, because I think at that point in time you're going to see the dollar Swiss down at 98 cents, 97.50, and those are places that I'm looking actually to buy the dollar Swiss. But I think a lot of it's gonna end up what happens to the yen pairs, because obviously the dollar yen, if we start breaking down the dollar yen, that's going to drive a lot of dollar weakness. It's not just if you see the dollar yen fall. That's going to automatically, put some dollar weakness on the board across everything. So anyway, so the euro dollar, let's keep an eye on it as far as support goes. Resistance. Now this was a really interesting move this morning. I mean, it came out of nowhere. I mean, it started basically when I got up this morning. I got up and I was looking at the euro. I'm like, oh, we're at like 111.60, and I guess when I looked at it, we must have been right in the middle of this, just starting this fall. But we basically hit previous support here and then turned lower. So obviously the highs today are going to be pretty key. All right. And if we break back above 111.80, that's going to suggest that there's obviously some dollar weakness coming. All right, but 111.80 should be resistance today, and I think that the bias has gone from range to bullish. Okay, all right, we've gone from range to bullish, and the reason why is because we broke that severe, very strong downtrend line. Right now, I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to get rid of this because the flag pattern that we had, this flag pattern that we had is basically negated. Okay, we had this big flag pattern, possible pennant. That's all been negated. So now, we're turning bullish, and I think we're going to be up here over the course of the next couple of weeks, back up towards 115, 116, and then we're going to have to see where the dollar goes from there. I'm not convinced that the euro dollar is heading to 120 or 125. I'm not convinced, but I am at this point in time thinking that the euro dollar is going to be making its way up here. Let's go over to the cable. Now the cable, oh my God, the thing is so weak. So the pound dollar really had a big rejection last week at the 50% retracement. Okay, so you can see it from the back here in December where we started this move to the lows. We had a 50% retracement. Okay, we hit a 50% retracement, stopped on a dime, and reversed. So now we're in the middle of this pullback, okay, and we just stopped at a 50% retracement again. So it looks, that's interesting because the 50% retracement actually rejected us on the way up, right? The 50% retracement rejected us on the way up. That 50% retracement is holding on the way down, low, high, okay, which is surprising. So surprising how well the 50% retracement is holding for the cable. Now, what's going to be really key, in my opinion, is this move right here, because you can see it low, high, high. You can continue to, you can continue here. I'll just draw it like this. There's one here, basically there. I mean, this is going to be a really important support. So I'm going to write down the 618. Okay, even though we stopped at the 50% retracement, and that may hold us. But this 143.50, that's going to be pretty key support. Okay, 143.45 is a 618, 143.50. As you can see, it's obviously a very highly respected level as it is. So even if we break into new lows, 143.50 is just right below. We should get a bounce from there. Okay, I would say that's pretty key support. Resistance on the way up. Well, I guess we have to look at the overnight high, just like the euro dollar at 111.80. This overnight high really, stopped us, and we fell so quickly. And that high comes in at 145.46, so 145.50. I do think that the cable is in a range still. All right. Let's take a look at the Swissy. So here's the Swissy. Now, the thing about the dollar Swiss is that I actually really want to be long the dollar Swiss. and I have to go back out to the weekly charts and show you the reasons why. Okay, so if you look at the weekly, this is here. Let's get rid of these fibs really fast. Okay, this is showing you a couple of decades worth of information. Okay, and you can see that we have this support here, which we're not too far away from right now. Okay. We have this this support here. Okay, and I'm going to remove. Well, you know what? I'm going to just leave it for now. The bigger support, I believe, is this blue line. Okay, just because if you look at the reactions, from that we had this like triangle, breakout at the time, looks something like that, right? That breakout right there. Like for us to come back down here would make complete sense to me, because if you look at it, here I'm gonna just do this for you really quick. This is what I think is happening. We're developing a Gartley pattern where, we get down towards this. I know we're at 99 cents, but we get down towards this like 96 cents, 96-cent level, something like that. I'm going to be looking at the dollar Swiss as a very aggressive long down here. Now, when you're looking at it, you go, God, well, that's like 400 pips away, and you're right. I mean, it's 2, 3, 400 pips down there. I think we're gonna, make it all the way down towards this like 96-cent level, maybe somewhere down here. And frankly, that's where I'm going to look to get long. And that's why I think that the euro dollar, I think the euro dollar can lift from here, and I think it can go to the 114, 115 level. But it's not like I'm looking for the euro dollar to get to 120 or 130. I think that the dollar will find a good bid sometime in, it's going to find a really good bid at some point, the dollar will. So I just want to make sure that I'm prepared to be on the long side, whether it's the dollar Swiss down here or, shorting the euro dollar at 115, something like that. But that doesn't do anything for us today. Today, I was just giving you a little bit longer term view of what I'm thinking. But, as far as the Swissy goes right now, let me delete this so you guys kind of have on your radar what I'm thinking longer term with the Swissy. Near term, so like right now, let's double check something here. This should be a 786 that we're stopped on. It is. Basically, the 786 retracement comes in at 98.90, and we have a spike low at 98.81. So I'm going to write down that 98.80 is really key support. Okay, resistance, we had this written down from Friday, so it's going to be the same thing here. Even following the non-farm payroll, spike highs up there. I mean, that comes in at 99.85. That is key resistance on the way up. We are in a range. All right, let's take a look at the dollar yen. All right, so as you guys know, the dollar yen, boy, we're on some really critical support here. Very, very critical support. I think I've had this yellow support band drawn out for, I don't know, you guys have probably been looking at it for the last 2 months, maybe longer. That we've had, this yellow band here. I mean, look how critical this support is. We got the spike low down here at 115.56, all these other spike lows around 116. We have 116.03, 115.97, and then today our low's been 116.11. So obviously 116 is going to be key support. Below that's 115.50 just in case we break, but 116, really critical support here. So we're only 25 pips away, and I know you're like, well, I don't want to short it when we're down there, and I get it. I totally get it. I totally understand. Here, let's get rid of this. That's from Friday. Oops. Okay. So I think right now, previous support here is 117.65. The highs from overnight 117.48, so 117.50. So basically 117.50 is resistance, support is 116, and if we break through 116, 115.50 comes into play, right, immediately following. Okay, so 117.50 is resistance right now. It's a range, but we're threatening to turn back to bearish. I mean, well, remember, we were bearish. The BOJ kind of put us back into a range environment. But I mean, I look at the dollar yen, and it's about ready to have a serious bearish breakdown. And I'm glad I'm short. I'm short. My cost average is 116.73 right now, and I have no problem adding to it. I have no problem whatsoever. Okay, adding to the dollar yen short or yen longs in general, no problem. Right? Okay. Let's go over to the Canadian. So crude oil is weakening again. Dollar Canadian, it just, whoops, where's the dollar Canadian here? The Canadian currency, I mean, it's hard to be on the long side of the Canadian currency when crude oil is absolutely nosediving. All right, so we got the dollar Canadian ripping into new highs. The Canadian currency is getting smacked right now. We have our inverted head and shoulder patterns played out. We're continuing higher again. I would say 140 is going to be a big support. It was our big resistance. It was a big support on the way down. But if you see crude oil, I mean, look, crude is down. God, gold's ripping. Pound new lows, Aussie new lows. Holy cow. I mean, crude's down 4% right now. As crude continues to go down, this Canadian's just getting smacked. And I would think it continues. Okay, we completed this. Flag pattern's done. It's over. We hit the 38% retracement, which was a big buy zone. That's why we had that yellow down here. Gosh, I was long. All I made was 50 pips here. What a goober. I mean, seriously. I have 50 pips, and this has been a 250, 300 pip move. Ridiculous. Anyway, 140 is probably going to be really big resistance. Okay, I'm sure it's a big number. Goes to show you how good I am, huh? We are in a big range in the dollar Canadian. Okay, so I would expect it to turn lower, probably, just above the 140 level. Support now, I mean, we'd have to just look at the overnight low, right? This is going to be really key support. People are going to be trading against it. That's 138.40. All right, let's take a real quick look at the Kiwi. So here's the Kiwi dollar. we had a really big turn in the Kiwi from key resistance last week. Here's your daily candle, all right? Oops. Hi, hello, how are you? Okay, we turn from that key resistance in the Kiwi, also a 786 retracement. Okay, that resistance was at 67.50, and we turned. Right now, we are approaching here. Let's get rid of this. I would expect that this blue line comes into play here sometime soon. All right. Support right here will be at 65.60 on the way down. I'm assuming. Let's get rid of. I'm assuming that's going to be a fib coming into play too. Oh yeah, 618 comes in at 67 or 65.70. So this is going to be a really key support today. 65. I'm going to write it down as 65.60. What's the high there? Yeah, that's going to be really critical support on the way down. 65.60. Key support on the way down. Okay. Resistance. I would say any move up to here is going to find some sellers. So even though it's well above the spike highs overnight, but I want to say any move up to shoot. I'm going to move it down just so I can continue to see it. So any move down to any move out to 66.75, it's going to be good resistance. We're in a range here. All right, when I come back, we will do the Aussie, dollar index, peso, everything else. So don't go anywhere. I'll be back. Oh, wow, the peso, so strong. That's a show of risk aversion right there, by the way. All right, I'll be back in a few moments. Don't go anywhere. Thanks. All right, traders, this is Blake Morrow. You are listening to the Morning Edge webinar. We're going to finish up this this analysis. So let's go over to the euro, or the Aussie dollar rather. And the Aussie dollar was just hitting new lows on the session just a little while ago. So let's take a look at it and see how it's faring. Yeah, we're hitting new lows as we speak, or close to. Now, what's really interesting about the Aussie, let's take a step back for a second. All right, so we have the Aussie that's in a, obviously a bigger range here. Okay, was making its way higher. We had that inverted head and shoulder pattern completed. Remember this one right here, if you guys don't recall. So we had the shoulder, head, shoulder, neckline complete. Once we stopped a little short of it. I mean, you have to imagine these head and shoulder patterns when you get pretty damn close that you're going to start to see some sellers step in, and that's what happened here. Now I think you got to be a little careful because obviously equities are weaker. Let's get rid of this. Let's get rid of this, and let's get rid of this. Okay. Now, I think we're going to have to pay really close attention where we're at right now, because this is, obviously some trend line support. 786 retracement right here. Okay. So, if you want to be long the Aussie dollar, right now is the time to do it. Now, I don't know if that's really a wise decision considering that equities are so weak at the moment, but I'm just saying, if you want to only risk maybe 15 pips right now, you could get long the Aussie if you want to. But like I said, with stocks as weak as they are, I don't know if that's the best decision out there. Okay, so be careful if that's what you're doing. When we are on support right here, I'm going to write down support as being the 70-cent level though, because I'm just going to make the assumption that we're going to break. Okay, I'm going to make the assumption that we're breaking here, and we're going to break down. But I'm not saying that's going to happen. I just have to make that assumption since we're sitting right on support. So that comes in at 70 cents, right? All right. Resistance right now, like everything, we've seen this overnight spike higher and then reverse. If we do get a lift in the Aussie for some reason and we start breaking through the highs for whatever reason, like let's say stocks just completely recover, 7150 is going to be previous support that should act as current resistance on the way back up. Okay. Like I said, I wouldn't be too comfortable. Wow, the euro dollar is getting smacked right now. Cable's getting crushed. Oh my God. Holy cow. All right. So anyway, 7150 is going to be resistance on the way back up. And we're in a range. Let's go really quick, take a look at the euro dollar. So the euro dollar has slipped through or is at 111. Remember, big support comes in down here. This is 110, 110.50, 110.60. That's going to be really key support on the way down, FYI. Look at the pound. I mean, the pound, 143.80. 143.50 is coming up pretty soon. This is going to be really key support on the way down too. All right, let's go over to the dollar index. All right, so here's the dollar index. We had a really critical bounce off of trendline support on Friday. We're back above the 200-day moving average. So, and matter of fact, we're attacking resistance right now. Look at this. See all this through here. I'm just going to roughly that and that. This right here, I would believe is a sell zone right through here. Okay, but we're coming up pretty, we're coming up pretty quickly. Let's delete that really quick. Draw fib. .38% retracement comes right to the top of this. Like if I say that's the sell zone, that's going to be right through here. So it comes in at 97, basically 97.60. All right. So the dollar index 97.60 would be the 38% retracement. You see that? 38% retracement would come in right here, right? So that should be good resistance. Support is going to be back at 96.50. Okay, on the way back down. And we are still in a range. Obviously, we would threaten to turn bearish if we broke below this trend line right through here. but that held on Friday following the non-farm payrolls. Okay. Let's go into the US dollar Mexican peso. Now this dollar peso is super strong. Why? It's risk aversion. As the market goes risk off, we're rallying back towards the highs. Those highs come in at 118.79.90, so basically 1880. Okay, that is resistance today. That is also close to the 127% extension. Wow, of that move. So 1880 is going to be really key resistance today, especially if the market's still risk off. This is still a very bullish trend. 18.8000. Key resistance. Let's try to figure out where support is. Well, I mean, So I would assume any dip, any dip down here. I mean, intraday though. I mean, look at how the hourly is just spiked. Following, this is just risk aversion purely. I would think that we're really well supported on any dip down to 1850. Right here. Okay, any dip down towards, well, I'll write 1848, but all right, let's take a look at the US dollar Norwegian krona. Which you can see the US dollar Norwegian krona is rallying back. Why? Because crude oil is weak. So as crude's weakening, the US dollar Norwegian krona is strengthening. Right up against resistance here. I don't even know what to do with the US dollar Norwegian krona down here. If I don't know what to do with it, I'll probably just leave it alone, especially with, if you think crude's gonna bounce, then you just, look at shorting the US dollar Norwegian krona. It's probably the best play out there. All right. Yeah, I'm going to leave it off the bias chart for now. Let's go over to the US dollar Swedish krona. The US dollar Swedish krona turned around really quickly due to the weakness of the euro dollar. I figured this line was going to cap, but it hasn't thus far. Right here, you'll see it. I thought we would be capped by this this broken trend line here, but we haven't. We're actually rallying back. I am short a little bit of US dollar Swedish krona. It's really messy though. I don't know if this is something that you'd want to even venture around trading at the moment, just because it is extremely choppy at the moment. So I'm going to leave this off the bias chart as well. Yeah. All right. So here's your bias chart, and I'm gonna go through some questions. So there it is. It is completed. Let's go into your questions from earlier. Anders says dollar yen.